Hey everybody, I am excited to talk to you today about how to make more time for your music, even if you have a crazy busy schedule. So I'm guessing many of you that are here can stand and can relate to this being super busy. A lot of times we are trying to fit music in on the side, we have full-time jobs, that kind of thing, and we are trying to find any time that we can to do some music so we can get better as a musician and start to actually move our career forward. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So there's this quote that I love that says, if you need something done, ask a busy person. And it is so absolutely true that that is the case. If you need something done, a lot of times a busy person is the person to ask because they already know how to get a lot done in less time. So you guys can totally do more than you think you can if you're used to getting a lot done. And next, nobody is too busy. It's a matter of priorities, and I really do believe that. And I'm not saying this to like, oh, you haven't been prioritizing correctly, but just to realize that you absolutely can get more done as long as you organize things in a way so you can prioritize what you want to do in your life, even if you are busy. So I find that to be encouraging. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. What we're going to learn is what progress means to you. We're going to talk about the specific music goals that you want to accomplish. We're going to talk about when you are most productive, how much time you have to spend on music, creating your plan of action, and tips to reduce resistance. Because I know that, we always have this, procrastination, or, it's just so easy to not do what we said we're going to do if we're not set up for success. So we're going to help you figure that out. And then my do just 3 things method, which I think will help you to get a lot done and not feel like you have this huge laundry list of things to do every day. Okay, so a little bit about me, who am an entrepreneur musician. That's at femusician.com. And that's a podcast that's been going on for like 3.5 years. We also have tons of other resources over there, not just for female artists, but I like to highlight female artists. I interview a lot of female artists on my show. And also I have been running Women of Substance Radio podcast. Been running that since 2007. So it's become a go-to platform for female artists to get their music heard. And I also run something called the Female Musician Academy. That's a membership site for female artists. Plus, I have a ton of different courses. It doesn't matter what gender you are, you can take all those courses. So that's who I am. I love to talk about productivity and time saving and habits and goals and things like that. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. And this picture is actually me in Yosemite National Park. I live within 20 miles of the south gate of Yosemite National Park, so it's a really great place to live as an entrepreneur. As long as you've got an internet connection, you can pretty much launch, which is cool. Okay, so again, we're talking about how to find more time for music even when you have a crazy busy schedule. So you're probably what I call a scattered creative. And what that is somebody who has just a ton of really great ideas. You're super creative all the time, but that can be a catch-22. And so I kind of use this as an endearing term. I'm not trying to insult people by calling them scattered creatives, because there's so many great things about being a creative. But it does tend to oftentimes make you more scattered in your thinking and in your doing. A lot of times, you get this great idea, you start working on it, and then another great idea comes to you and you get derailed and you go down that rabbit hole, and you're not able to ever finish any of your projects because you've got so many pans in the fire and none of them are actually fully cooking the meal. So that is what we're going to talk about today, how to make sure that you don't do that. And also, like I said, you probably got a million ideas, but a lot of times these a million ideas can be your enemy because it keeps you from actually accomplishing anything because you're so easily sidetracked. So we're going to talk about how you can set some goals and keep you from being sidetracked by all these great ideas that you have. Okay, so our first segment is what is progress? What does it mean to you? And I want you to think about how would you like to feel? If when you think about the word progress, when you think about actually accomplishing something and achieving what you want to achieve, how would you feel if you got to the end of, say, a period of 90 days and you really made the progress that you wanted to? How would that make you feel? And I want you to get into that mindset. And then I want you to think about, well, in order to feel that way, what would you want to achieve? And that's going to help us get to our goal setting in the next section. So, what types of things would you feel really good about yourself if you achieved them in the next 90 days? And then we're going to talk about how to get there. And then finally, like, what is a reasonable timeline? I like to use 90 days because I feel like it's long enough where you can actually achieve something tangible, but it's not too long that it feels like it's way out in the distance. It's a very, you know, it's a time period that is really going to make it seem like it's something you can actually do and you can keep a handle on. So I'm going to suggest 90 days. If you want to do something different, that's okay. If you think, gosh, I can only spend 1 hour a week on music, maybe 90 days is a little too short. Maybe you want to choose 6 months or something. But let's go 90 days for this example. So we're going to talk about figuring out what your music goals are. And this is going to, I'm going to take you through a process. And at the end, I'm going to give you a free resource that you can use to take you through this process as well. So you don't need to take notes here. I'm going to explain the process to you. And then at the end, I'm going to give you my SMART Goals workbook so you can go through this process yourself. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do a brain dump. And I love this because a lot of times I try to keep all these things in my mind and in my head, and I'm always thinking, oh my gosh, like I don't want to forget to do that, and I don't want to forget to do that, and I really wanted to do that. And if you brain dump them all into one place, then you don't have to worry about losing any of that anymore. So I want you to think about what would you like to do in music over the next year? What would make you feel like really amazing? Like what are all the things that you can think of that you'd like to work on? Maybe these are the million ideas that have been coming into your head, or songs that you want to write, or albums that you want to release, or things that you want to learn, all of that. I want you to write all of those down. I want you to come up with at least 25, but if it's way more than that, totally fine. Just dump it all out into a place that you can feel easy about kind of reorganizing. So some people like to do sticky notes, some people like a whiteboard, some people like to use a actual pen and paper. I like a digital document because I can move things around easily with cut and paste, but you can do whatever you want in that case. Then I want you to go through those. And I want you to kind of organize them in categories. So, kind of put all the marketing goals together, all of the learning goals together, all of the songwriting goals, all of any income goals you have, anything else that kind of fits together. I want you to put those into categories. And then out of those, I want you to choose 5. And these are going to be the goals that you're going to do in the next 90 days. So sometimes it may be combining a bunch into one goal if they're kind of really similar, or it's going to be I need to choose one of these things. If I have several different songwriting goals and I can't do all of them, there's no way, then I need to choose one out of all of those. So once you've done that, and you've been really, really honest with yourself of what you could actually do in 90 days, don't bite off more than you can chew. It needs to be, SMART goals. They need to be like absolutely doable within that time period. They need to be measurable. They need to, attainable. Like you could actually do them in 90 days. Okay, so once you choose those, then you need to figure out, you've got these 5 goals. What are the action steps you need to take to actually achieve them? So if say something is like you're going to release a single in 90 days. Okay, so what do you need to do that? Well, you need to write the song if it's not done yet. You need to record the song. You need to, mix and master. You need to then, have this whole marketing plan. So that needs to be broken down into what you're going to do. You need to get it, into distribution, make sure it's on Spotify, all those things, and then figure out exactly what you're going to do to market that thing and break that down into steps. That's just one example. If it's something like, I really want to become a better guitar player, then that might be practice every day for 20 minutes or practice, 3, 4, 5 times a week, whatever is doable for you. And, it doesn't have to be like a whole bunch of act steps. It might just be like a weekly thing that you need to do in order to reach that goal. So break it down like that into the action steps. Okay, so now that we've got your goals and we've got all your action steps, and it's like this big list of things that you want to do over the next 90 days, we're going to figure out when you're going to do those things. So, first of all, what is productive time for you? And, it could be that you're really, really productive in the morning. It could be that you're much more productive at night. For me, I'm much more productive in the morning. When I wake up, I'm, my brain is totally unfogged. I'm like ready to go. I've got motivation, all that stuff. So for me, morning is it. When I'm enthusiastic and motivated. Maybe for you, you get this second wind at night and you're super motivated at night. And so you want to figure out and be honest with yourself when that productive time is, and that's when you're going to be working on music. Okay, then when you're least distracted. So if you're like me and you have kids, you need to be honest about, okay, when my kids need help on their homework, when I need to be making dinner, all those things, I can't be working on music. So for me, that's why I love the morning hours because they're still asleep. So think about what is it that can easily distract you at certain times. And don't make that your productive time if you're going to be easily distracted by those things. And then finally, when you're in work mode. So maybe you work a full-time job and it takes you a little bit to get going in the morning, you get your coffee, all that stuff. You're not quite into the zone. But then by like 10 o'clock, you're in the zone and you're starting to really get a lot of work done at your job. And then lunchtime hits. So instead of just relaxing during lunchtime, why not keep that momentum going and use that time when you're in work mode to work on music stuff? So we'll talk in a little bit about how you can make your lunch hour kind of this power hour of getting some music stuff done while you're in work mode, whether you work at home or whether you work at a job. Okay, so now let's be honest about what your available time is. Now, I want to propose that your calendar is your friend and not your enemy, because a lot of times musicians, when we're scattered creatives, we don't like this thing telling us what to do, this calendar, this lording over us. But I want you to see your calendar as a friend and not a foe, because it will help you get so much more done if you use it the right way. So I want you to block off the things that you must do. So yes, if you're at work for certain hours, that's must do. If you have to do things for your kids, if you have responsibilities, you volunteer for places, you've got a second job or whatever it is that you have that are your must do's. Those doctor appointments, things like that. Those need to go on the calendar. And from there, then you can see what spots you have left. So create some space for fun and self-care. You're definitely going to want to have some space to, get exercise, maybe do something fun with some friends, go out on date night, that kind of thing. Make sure that you build that into your calendar too, or you will totally burn out. And then I want you to determine best time slots for music and reserve them. So that's going to be based on the cross section of when you're most productive and what times you have left in your calendar. And I want you to actually put in there music time. Whether it's for practicing or writing or marketing, whatever it is, you need to reserve those times for music time, and then we're going to fill those in with some things to get you closer to achieving your goals. Okay, so we're going to create a plan, and as I said, where the productivity time and the available time meet. Those are the places that you're going to put in time for music, and I want you to block those off. You're going to use time blocks of 30 to 60 minutes segments, or you're going to use bigger blocks. So whatever works for you. You know, maybe you like to work on music on a Saturday and you block off like 3 or 4 hours. That's cool. Maybe you can only fit in 30 to 60 minutes a day. So then you can do that. And we'll figure out how to put our action items into those blocks. Okay, fill in the plan weekly, like a curriculum plan. So it's almost like, you know, I homeschool my daughter, and every week I give her a list of things that she needs to do every day. And I want you to think about it like that. Like, okay, I know I've got this time period for music. What am I going to be working on today? So when you get into that time period and you've only got so much time, you're not wasting time figuring out what you're going to spend time on. You know exactly what you're going to work on right now. So I suggest you do this weekly because you don't want to get overwhelmed, and you need to like reassess every week and see, okay, did I finish those things? Do I need to move them forward? Am I giving myself too many things to do that I don't have enough time for? Or do I actually have a little bit more time than I thought? So reassess this weekly, and then either actually put them into your calendar. Some people like that, or some people just like blocks for music time, and then you create a little list every day of the things that you're going to do. And then I want you to evaluate, as I said, each week and make adjustments, because you know, some weeks are easier than others, and you need to give yourself grace for maybe not finishing everything you wanted to finish. Sometimes we're just like overzealous. So reevaluate and then just make little adjustments every week. Okay, let's talk about reducing resistance. So when I was talking earlier about, you know, your lunch hour or times that are like kind of dead zone times that you can get some music stuff done, but you're not prepared, like you don't have the materials you need, you haven't thought out in advance what it is that you need to be successful during that time. Therefore, you're going to have resistance, and you're probably not going to do it. So I want you to reduce the resistance by being prepared. Consult your plan each day or on Monday and plan accordingly. So look at your plan. Am I planning on, you know, practicing during lunch? I better make sure I have my instrument. Or am I going to, you know, sing along with some tracks in my car during lunch? I better make sure I have the tracks I need. And another thing that I suggest that you do is, like, you can do things during your lunch hour, do some bookings, but make sure that you've got the list that you need, or you have access to whatever you need on like a cloud, like Google Drive or something like that, that you can access from anywhere, so you can get the information you need to work on those things. Maybe you want to make some booking calls during lunch. Maybe, you know, you want to follow up with some people, but you need to be able to see where you're at. What did you know, do with that booking most recently? So make sure you have access to all those files that you need. Keep your materials with you, as I said, especially if you have an instrument or something like that. Download or find needed links to in advance. So one thing I suggest is that if you have a commute of any kind, or you need to be driving back and forth places, listening to podcasts or listening to some modules of courses that you've purchased, you can totally do that in the car, and you're not wasting that time where you're just sitting there. So if you want to listen to podcasts, just go and find someone you want to listen to. It could be the Female Entrepreneur Musician. Some other great ones are the DIY Musician by CD Baby. There's the Music Industry Blueprint by my friend Rick Barker. There's just a whole bunch of really great music podcasts out there that you can listen to learn while you've got idle time. So make sure that you've downloaded those in advance, or if you need like login information for different courses that you might own, then make sure you have that, you know how to access it on your device. And then your lunch hour equals your music power hour. So I already mentioned some things you can do during lunch. You can practice. Maybe you can work on song lyrics. You can do some booking calls. You could work on some marketing stuff. When you're already in that work mode, man, just keep powering through and just shift gears and do some music stuff. But make sure that you've got the materials you need to do that. Okay, and then I have this method called do just 3 things a day because, sometimes we see this laundry list of things. If you looked at your entire list of actions that you made from goals list that you had, and you looked at that every day, it would totally depress you. It would overwhelm you. So what I don't want you to do is look at that laundry list. I suggest that you go at the beginning of the week and you choose 3 things every day that you're going to work on. And those things need to be maybe anything that's going to take from 20 minutes to 1.5 hours, depending on how much time you have to work on music. So every day when I go to work on stuff, I choose 3 things. And I'm like, if I get these 3 things done today, I will be happy. If I can get more done, awesome. But if I get these 3 things done, I'm going to feel like I'm accomplished, I'm moving toward my goals, and I'm not going to look at that huge laundry list because that is just going to overwhelm me and make me feel like I can't possibly succeed. So if you've got something that is more like a creative thing, like songwriting, you can't really say, oh, I'm going to get this song done in 20 minutes or even an hour. For me, sometimes I'd get so deep into writing a song that like the sun would go down and I wouldn't even notice. So if you only have so much time to work on music, just break it up. Say, okay, during this time I'm going to work on verse 1 or whatever. Or I'm just going to spend 30 minutes working on this and I'm going to get as far as I get. And don't beat yourself up if you don't get as far as you want, because you cannot push creativity. You cannot make it happen faster than it automatically will. So just break things up into little time blocks and know that as long as you're doing it consistently, you're making progress. And finally, the do just 3 things, it really assuages your guilt. For me, like if I'm not feeling well, if I'm having a sick day, if, like in the summer, this happened a lot because my kids were home all the time. And I felt like, gosh, I'm not getting very much done, and they'd be like, but we want to go to the lake. And I would be like, I just don't think I can. But then I would think, okay, if I can just get these 3 things done that I have on my list, then I can go to the lake and not feel guilty and feel like I've actually really accomplished something today. And so I found that the 3 things really, really just made me feel so much more comfortable, made me feel happy that I was making progress, and really kept me from feeling guilty for not doing more and more and more, which is so easy to do. Okay, so that is the whole system for helping you to get more done in less time, even if you have a crazy busy schedule. I want you to ditch the overwhelm. I want you to focus on doing just 3 things a day based upon those goals that we created and those action steps that came out of those goals. You can just choose 3 things a day to do, fit them into your calendar, into a time that is the cross section of productivity and the time you have available for music, and you will be amazed at how much you can accomplish in those short times because you're doing it during your most productive times. So I said earlier about the fact that I've got a Smart Goals workbook that will help you. It'll take you through this process. So you can get that at femmusician.com/goals. That's F as in female, E as in entrepreneur, musician.com/GOALS. I had a little problem with this link. It should work. Some people were telling me it wouldn't work, but I think you just need to make sure don't put a www there. Just put femmusician.com/goals, and you should be able to get that workbook no problem. If you have any issues getting it, you just email me at Bree, BREE, at femmusician.com, and I'll be happy to send you the link. So thanks so much for letting me talk about one of my favorite things, which is productivity and all of this amazing stuff. And if you have any questions in the chat, I would love to be able to answer those for you. Let's see. Trying to stop the screen sharing. I think I did. I'm not out here. I'm not used to this whole platform. This in the background. I want to go see if there are any questions here. Yes, stop sharing. Yay, I think. Okay. So let me just check in the chat here and see if I see anything that needs any questions here. Like we have people from Ohio. Let's see. I think my issue is that I am not absorbing enough outside material. Well, let me tell you, podcasts are amazing for that. Check out mine, femmusician.com. There's like 177 episodes up there of amazingly inspiring interviews of artists that are successful as DIY artists. So they talk about a lot of tips and tricks that they use. And also I do a lot of teaching podcasts of questions that I get asked all the time by my students. So let's see. I'm looking forward to number 5. Great. Great to have you guys here. Not constantly prioritize other musical tasks instead of songwriting. Yeah, I know. It's hard to choose songwriting because it is so intense. It does take a lot of time. And like I said, it can just swallow up your time, right? But if you don't have songs, then you don't have your identity as an artist if you're trying to be an artist who does their own songs. So you really do have to prioritize that. You are welcome, Jason. I'm so glad that this was helpful for all of you guys. I'm sure that there's going to be a replay of this. If Andre wants to come back and just let everybody know about the replay after this, that'd be great. Checking the chat, let's see. Yeah, that's a great point about writing a new song, like about how you'll feel when you finish that song. You know, about it being so powerful, but try not to envision yourself getting stuck, because if you do get stuck, like I totally recommend co-writers. Sometimes I've just been stuck on a song and I've pulled in a co-writer, and it's amazing when you get that, you know, other perspective, how you can suddenly make a breakthrough on a song. Okay, doesn't look like there's many further questions. I think you can come on.
So good evening again, everyone. Thank you for joining Tunedly for another webinar. We'll have a webinar replay in about a week or two. We'll put it up on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and check it out afterwards. And thank you so much, Bree, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Bree, for joining us. And the information was very valuable. I'm pretty sure the attendees appreciated it.
You are so welcome. And remember, go grab that Smart Goals workbook. It will really help you go through this process. It's femmusician.com/goals. And if you have any issues, just send me an email, Bree, B-R-E-E, @femmusician.com. Thank you.
Great, and that's fine if we share that link on our social channels to download your workbook, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you and have a good evening.
Thanks, guys.